Hey guys, we've had a lot of people ask, what is the difference between a chuck eye steak and a chuck steak? So today, I'm going to show you. Now this is the chuck roll, and remember the chuck roll is going to come to right here, and then from here on towards the back end of the beef is the rib eye. And so the chuck eye is about the first 4 to 6 inches of the chuck roll. So I'm going to break that off there, again about 4 to 6 inches. I like to try and get about 4 1-inch steaks for chuck eyes off of the chuck roll. So I'm going to cut these chuck eyes. They're going to be, again, about 1 inch thick. You can see here it's got a lot of similarity to the ribeye. Man, that's a good looking chuck eye. Poor man's ribeye. It's definitely a good looking steak. You can see there I took about 4 of those at about 1 inch thick. Now that's a chuck eye. I'm going to clean that up. So now I'm going to come over and I'm going to cut chuck roast back towards the head of this animal, right? So chuck steaks are just a chuck roast that's cut into a steak. Chuck eyes, first 4 inches that connect to that ribeye. So with a chuck steak, I'm going to come in here again about 1 inch thick. Cut a nice little steak. You can see it's still got a nice little chuck eye on it. It's a good looking chuck steak. So there's a couple chuck steaks. Again, I would have gone into cutting roasts, but instead cutting the chuck steak. It's the same thing, right? But check this out. Here's the chuck eye. And it sits right here on the chuck steak. The chuck steak just a little bit further into that chuck roll, closer to that neck area. And then this area right here is the Denver steak. And that's why I'm trying to tell people that, hey, the chuck steak is an extremely underrated cut of meat because it's a great steak. It's got a nice little chuck eye. It's got the Denver steak on the back side. Now, the further I get into this chuck roll and get up to this neck, the less desirable that these are going to be. It doesn't make them a bad steak. It just, they're, a little less desirable. But if you can come in and cut a couple chuck steaks after your chuck eyes, it's going to make a phenomenal steak. It's great on the grill, and you will not be disappointed.